Hey guys, so today, something nicer to look at my face. We are going to be looking at Martin Luther King. Now, I will definitely do a part 2 on this because I will need your questions. So I've gone over 3 or 4 main questions that I had. I do have the tarot out, but to be honest, with your questions, I got the information through, so I've written it all down. So let's go on to the first question. So they said, how does he want to be known? In today's society, how does he want to be known and remembered? Okay. He wants to be known as a leader in the civil rights movement and a spokesperson chosen by his people, and to be recognised that he was speaking for those that had no voice. Now, it was really important to him that he felt he was chosen, a chosen spokesperson for his people. Because at times when he was doing these campaigns, he was questioning some of the things he was saying and trying to express. And he felt like he couldn't cover everybody. And I say that because it was like 2 different movements. One was more a movement of the mind and more of a peaceful protest. And then the other side, we had Malcolm X, which had a completely different upbringing, which I'll go into in a minute, which was more forceful. And known as more violent movement, basically. You know, guys, I could go into this for hours and hours, but I'm trying to keep it simple today. But there was 2 different types of movements here. And in a way, sometimes he felt like he wasn't doing enough, and just speaking and channeling. I mean, some of the speeches he did, okay, a lot of it was channeled information as well. A lot of it was channeled information coming through to him. That's why they're going to last till the end of time. The speeches will always be remembered, because when it's channeled, it's spiritual, it speaks to your soul. So that's the big thing about the speeches he had. But he also felt he wasn't doing enough in the way that he would look at Malcolm and the way Malcolm was doing things and thinking, should I be more forceful? Am I speaking for everyone? You know, I'm trying to do all these speeches and bring people together, but am I really covering everybody there? And that was a big thing for him. Like, he wasn't doing enough, and he wasn't being forceful enough at times. He felt like, maybe I should. Do I change my approach at times to be more like Malcolm X? Not extremely, like exactly like Malcolm X, but there were times when he thought, is speaking enough? Is it doing enough for us? Is it doing enough for us? So that was really, really strong. Now, let me just see. Okay, Malcolm X. I have got what he felt, guys, so I'm going to pull some card again. Yeah. Look, so with Malcolm X, how he felt was, okay, the Seven of Wands, sorry, means he saw Malcolm X as very defensive, almost confrontational. I'm not going to take any shit from anyone. I mean, look at the card. Look at the card. But he also felt that, in a way, if he had that stability in himself, because they had a completely different upbringing, as I mentioned, okay, then he could have learnt new methods and new ways to really get through to the masses. So it's almost like, if they worked together, it would have been completely different. Like, if they had joined forces, it would have been a force to be reckoned with, I hear, honestly, here. So he just felt he was too confrontational in the way he did things. And if he had a bit more stability emotionally, because this is the stability card, then he could have learnt a new way of getting through to people. But he did have respect for him. He had respect for him. Because I've got here, this is what he said about Malcolm X, okay? He had a lot of respect for Malcolm X, but he did not always condone the way he did things, as he thought he could be too hot-headed. But at the end of the day, they had the same goal in mind, and some of his tactics, Malcolm X's tactics, were more controversial, and in some ways he was more concerned that his own fight for equal rights would not be taken seriously because of Malcolm X's movements at times, okay? And he felt like he needed to do this peacefully to prove a point. And also, I did get the word Gandhi here, Gandhi, so he did actually admire him as well, and the way that he achieved so much through peaceful protest. And it's really important to mention, this is a huge fact as well, they had a massively different upbringing, okay? So apparently Martin Luther King was more of a middle class background, and he was taught more to fight with the words and the pen. So he does not blame Malcolm X, because Malcolm X was brought up in foster care. His dad was murdered when he was like 6. He had a horrendous upbringing. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the film as well, but it was completely 2 different upbringings, and that made a massive difference to the way they went about their campaigns, you know. And he says here as well, the way they chose to run their campaigns was different, because even though they were both black, they had experienced different levels of violence growing up and their lives were not equal, in the way that one was more of a middle class kind of upbringing with a solid family unit, and the other had none. So Malcolm had none like that at all. He had a horrendous upbringing. I mean, a life in general being passed around to different homes. So I did ask about his affairs, by the way, because, you know, I'm on about Martin Luther King now as well, about the affairs, because obviously you've heard about the affairs as well. And he said it did happen. And it's almost like when he was on the road for too long, for long periods of time, and he calls them, he doesn't want to say it like that because it sounds bad, but he says almost like groupies. So there would be people that would work on his campaigns, attractive young females that would admire him, think he was God. And he was going through such a difficult period as well, where he knew all the time he was having threats of being assassinated. He'd also question himself every time he'd go out there, how's this speech going to go today? Are people for me or against me? How's it going to go? And it was incredibly intense, stressful. Am I going to get assassinated any day now? And it took the pressure off, lighten the load. I hate to say it, I heard lighten the load. And he says, I do not proclaim to be a saint. But it's almost like these women in a way came into like, it's almost like a nurturing in a mother way to say, it's okay, I know you're tired. It's almost like, this sounds insane, guys, but it's what I'm getting through. If you've ever been bullied at school or had the worst day in your life, and then you go home and then your mum's there saying, look, I know it's horrendous. I know you don't want to go back to do it tomorrow. I know you're scared. I know, blah, blah, blah. You will be okay. We're going to work through this. You're strong. You're strong. It's almost like that. It's almost like a motherly nurturing figure he needed more than the sex. It was just somebody to nurture him, care for him. He needed a woman's touch after, I mean, God, he was knackered. Come on, he was knackered. Right. And when I mean that, I mean the campaigns. He was the long drawn out campaigns, exhaustion, constant tension, problems of sleeping. Okay, but I'm just going to go on to the last one quickly, guys. And like I said, guys, I'm going to do a part 2. Send me in your questions. I'm more than happy to do a part 2. Okay. What do you think of today's BLM movement, Black Lives Matters movement? So he says here, like all movements, it has both good and bad parts to it. And he likens it to the two different movements between him and Malcolm. So one can be more forceful and the other one's more intellectual. But at the end of the day, they both have the same goals, but there needs to be more balance between the two. Okay? Now, he did say if black leaders came together for a common goal, bringing different attributes, that would balance everything out. And again, it would make them a force to be reckoned with. So, for example, sometimes you do have to be more forceful to be heard. And other times there's a time where you don't need to be forceful and you need to get your words across instead. So he's almost saying, if you had a balance of modern day spokespeople, I can't get my words out. Modern day black leaders coming together, bringing different attributes. So it could be like a Malcolm X kind of character, a Martin Luther King character. If you had that all today coming together, that it would balance each other out and it would be, again, a force to be reckoned with. So he's not really for or against. It's almost like at certain times you may need to do one more than the other, but to do one the whole time might not work. To protest peacefully the whole time might not get the results you want all the time. You may need to push it more, be a bit more forceful. But then on the other side, he's almost saying, if you're also forceful the whole time, people aren't going to listen to you. People will not listen to you if you're constantly forceful. So he's almost like saying you need that balance between everybody. And it's almost like he would like to see a group of leaders coming together, bringing these different attributes to create a force. I hear a force like, not like an army, guys, almost like a political force of black spokespeople coming together in politics, uniting everybody together. It's more political. He doesn't want to get across this is going to be an army, okay? He doesn't believe in it like that. He doesn't want that route, But different attributes, there's nothing wrong with bringing different attributes to it all. So, guys, this is going to end up being 10 minutes long. I'm more than happy to do a part 2. I haven't been around for a week or so. Again, I've been really run down, low energy, so I've just had so much time off. But I'd love to do a part 2. I really, really would. So, guys, send your questions in and I will definitely look into them for you. Lots of love. Bye, guys.